"We did not order for your son," my sister said. She slid the bread basket towards him, a gesture of hollow charity, while her own children were poised to devour $100 steaks. My father, without even looking up from his menu, added, "You should have packed him something." I just smiled. It was a small, tight smile, the kind you wear like armor. Noted, I said, the single word feeling like a stone in my mouth. I have spent the majority of my adult life cleaning up after my sister's messes. They were not small messes. They were financial hurricanes, emotional minefields, and last-minute abandonments. I babysat her kids while she went on emergency getaways that looked suspiciously like vacations. I did it all without so much as a thank you, always hearing the same tired justification from our parents. "She is going through a lot," as if I was not. My sister Sophie has lived a life that is one long serialized drama. But somehow, she always manages to land softly, cushioned by a web of enablers who are always there to catch her. That web was usually me and our parents. They treat her like this fragile, helpless creature who cannot be held accountable for her own actions. Meanwhile, I am the reliable one, the stable one, the one who never gets a break, because I am never allowed to be broken. So when I offered to pay for our parents' 40th anniversary dinner, it was a significant gesture. I genuinely hoped for one night of peace, a night where we could just be a family. I booked a private room at the Oak Room, a renowned steakhouse in downtown Chicago. I had arranged for a beautiful framed photo from their wedding day, one I had paid to have professionally restored, to be presented as a surprise. This was not about making a statement, it was about creating a memory. I just wanted one night where we could all sit down, share a meal, and pretend the fractures did not exist. Instead, I walked into a firing squad of indifference. We arrived 5 minutes early. My son Leo held my hand, his small form vibrating with a shy, quiet excitement. He kept whispering, asking if it was okay for him to order dessert. I squeezed his hand and told him he could have whatever his heart desired. Inside, Sophie and her family were already seated. Her husband, Mark, had a drink in his hand. Their 2 boys were hunched over tablets, the tinny sounds of a game filling the elegant space. Sophie did not stand up. She just glanced over her shoulder, a flicker of acknowledgement in her eyes. "Oh hey." My mother gave me a distracted hug, her mind clearly elsewhere. My father remained seated, offering a barely perceptible nod in my direction. No one asked how Leo was. No one even looked at the gift bag I was holding. We sat down. I helped Leo unfold his heavy linen napkin and started looking over the menu with him. He pointed a small finger at the chicken tenders and smiled up at me. I was about to signal the waiter when Sophie leaned across the table. She pulled the breadbasket towards my son, and that is when she said it. She said, she. "We did not order for your son." She said it with such casual cruelty, as if she were merely commenting on the weather. I blinked, my mind struggling to process the statement. I thought perhaps I had misheard, or that she had misunderstood. But then my father chimed in, his tone making it sound like the most obvious thing in the world. "You should have packed him something, if you knew he would be hungry." That was the moment. It was not just the words, but the casual delivery, the way Leo's small, hopeful face fell just a fraction. The profound silence from my mother, who did not even glance up from her glass of water. It was Sophie's smug little smirk, as if she had just scored a critical point in a game only she was playing. I sat there for a few seconds, the sounds of the restaurant fading into a dull roar, and, in that silence, I realized something I probably should have accepted years ago. They were never going to change, but I could. I waved the waiter over. When he arrived at our table, I stood up. My voice did not even shake. I felt a strange calm wash over me, the kind you get when you know you are doing something irreversible. By the way, I am telling this story from my little apartment just outside Chicago. Let me know in the comments what city you are watching from. I would love to see how far this story reaches. Please cancel any orders that have not yet been sent to the kitchen, I announced, my voice clear and steady. And then, I looked at my father and put everything that is already on the way on my father's bill. It is his anniversary, after all. You could have heard a pin drop as the air in the private room became thick and heavy, then turned my attention back to the waiter, who was frozen in place. Also, I added, my son will have the ribeye, medium rare, with the truffle mac and cheese, and a Coke. Make it quick, please. Mark coughed, sputtering like he had swallowed his drink the wrong way. Sophie just stared at me, her mouth slightly agape, as if I had suddenly started speaking in a foreign language. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it again, looking utterly lost. But from across the table, my Uncle Ben let out a single slow laugh, just one low, appreciative chuckle. My Aunt Carol did not even try to hide her smile. The waiter, a true professional, simply nodded and walked away. I sat down, as if nothing had happened, and handed Leo a breadstick. He took it, still quiet, but I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. He knew I had just stood up for him. Dinner proceeded, but the atmosphere had shifted irrevocably. Sophie's kids began to whine about their orders being delayed. Mark was whispering urgently in her ear. My parents kept glancing at each other, their faces a mixture of fury and confusion, as if they were trying to communicate via telepathy about how to handle this unprecedented rebellion. I did not care. I ate my salad. I talked to Leo about his day at school, and I ignored them completely. The check came. My father stared at it, as if it were a personal insult. He did not say thank you. He did not even look at me. As we got up to leave, I quietly gave the framed wedding photo to the waiter and asked him to place it on their table. After we were gone, I grabbed Leo's hand. As we were walking out, I accidentally bumped into a dessert tray a server was carrying. A plate of cheesecake shattered on the floor. I did not apologize. I just kept walking. That night, my phone began to blow up, a barrage of calls, texts, and voicemails, all of them dripping with anger. Sophie asking what my problem was, my father demanding that I reimburse him immediately, my mother texting that I had embarrassed the entire family. I ignored every single message. The next day, they decided to escalate. They did not even text first. They just pulled into my driveway as if they owned the place and marched right up to my front door. My parents, and Sophie. Mark was suspiciously absent. Smart on his part. He always seemed to vanish when a difficult conversation was on the horizon. Leo saw their car through the window before I did. He did not say a word, just looked up at me, with that same weary expression I was starting to recognize in my own mirror. I did not panic. I did not rush to clean up the living room or try to smooth things over. I just picked up my phone and called Uncle Ben. "They are here," I said. "We will be there in 10, he replied. No questions, no drama, just unwavering support. I opened the front door before they could even ring the bell. My mother swept in first, her posture radiating indignation. Sophie followed, arms folded tightly across her chest, her jaw set. My dad was last, holding a manila envelope, like it was some kind of legal summons I was about to be served. No one said hello. No one even glanced at Leo, who was sitting on the couch, pretending to play on his Switch, but absorbing every ounce of tension in the room. The second the door was closed, Sophie opened her mouth. "You embarrassed the entire family last night." She said it like a statement of fact, as if I had desecrated a sacred temple by refusing to let my son be treated like a stray dog, begging for scraps. I did not respond. My mother jumped in. "You made a scene, Clara. You disrespected your father. We have never been so humiliated in public." This was laughable. These are the same people who once had a screaming match at an Applebee's in a suburban strip mall over an expired coupon. But sure, I was the disgrace. My dad placed the envelope on the kitchen counter and tapped it with his index finger. "That is the invoice for the restaurant's private room rental, $1,000. Since you bailed on your responsibility, we expect you to pay it." The entitlement was breathtaking. I did not touch the envelope. I just said, "Wait here," and walked into the hallway. 2 minutes later, the side door opened, and Uncle Ben and Aunt Carol walked in. They did not bother with pleasantries either. They knew what this was. My mother's face fell, and the second she saw them, Sophie muttered something under her breath. My dad looked like he had just swallowed something sour. I went back and stood across the counter from them. "I have decided I am done supporting Sophie," I said. No build-up, no apology, just the cold, hard truth. She is not my child. I am not her safety net. I have been covering half of her rent for the better part of a year. That ends today. If she and Mark want to stay in their apartment, Mark can pick up more hours, or they can find a place they can actually afford. Sophie started to raise her voice, but I did not even look at her. My mom turned to Uncle Ben, trying to pull him into it, saying he should stay out of private family matters. Before he could even respond, Aunt Carol stepped forward. She did not yell. She did not even raise her voice. She calmly, methodically, listed everything I had done for Sophie over the years: the money, the childcare, the endless emotional labor. And then she asked one simple, devastating question. When is the last time any of you helped Clara with anything? Silence. A thick, damning silence. I finally picked up the envelope, opened it, and scanned the invoice. $1,000. Even. Here is what I will do, I said, my voice cold. I will give you $500. Not out of obligation, but out of pure pettiness, just to make sure I can sleep tonight, knowing you did not get the whole thing. And so my dad's hand slammed down on the counter. The mom's face twisted into a mask of rage and betrayal. Sophie looked like she might actually lunge at me. Get out, I said. They did not move. So I walked to the front door and held it open. I stood there, silent. Uncle Ben stood up too. That was enough. They left, muttering curses and slamming the door on their way out. I did not say a word. I just locked the door behind them and stood there for a long time. It was not relief. It was not joy. It was just silence, the sound of a clean break. I thought that was the end of it. But the real games were just getting started. It began with the phone calls, first from my mom, then Sophie, then my dad, a relentless stream of voicemails, text messages, and long, rambling Facebook messages. They were a masterclass in guilt, manipulation, and outright insults. I ignored all of it. For 2 full days, I gave them nothing. I did not respond. I did not explain. I did not apologize. That is when the other kind of revenge started. Sophie posted a long, vague status on Facebook, something about certain family members who think they are better than everyone else. She said she was grateful to have been raised by real parents who taught her love, not pride. It got dozens of likes and sympathetic comments. A few people messaged me privately to ask what happened. I did not say a word. It was death by 1,000 paper cuts, and I was supposed to just bleed out quietly. But I was done being quiet. If you have ever had to stand up to your own family, hit that like button, so I know I am not alone in this. Then came the call to Leo's school. A week later, I received a call from the front office. Someone had reported an anonymous concern about Leo's emotional well-being. Anonymous, of course. I knew exactly who it was. They would stoop to anything. The school counselor met with Leo. She told me later that he seemed perfectly fine, a smart, quiet, respectful child, no red flags. I explained to the counselor that there were some significant family issues at play, and she nodded with a weary look that told me she had heard it all before. Next, my mother created a new group text with extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins. She wrote a long, heartbreaking message about how one of her daughters was cutting off the family for no reason. She never named me, but she did not need to. Uncle Ben replied with a single sentence, "We know exactly what is going on, Helen." Sophie left the chat 10 minutes later. Then, out of nowhere, Mark called me. I did not even have his number saved. I let it go to voicemail. He left a meandering message saying he did not agree with how everyone else was handling things, but that he wanted to stay neutral, and hoped this did not mean we were cutting the kids off from each other, as if Leo was the one with the problem. I did not respond. I blocked his number. 10 days after the dinner, my dad showed up at my workplace. He walked into the lobby of my office building, like he was just running errands. He told the receptionist he was there to drop something off for me. When I came out, he handed me a printed photograph. It was a candid shot from the dinner. Someone had taken it in the moment I stood up. It showed me standing, my son looking up at me, and everyone else in the background, frozen in shock. My dad had taken a red marker and circled himself. Beneath the circle, he had written, "This is who you embarrassed." I did not take the photo. I just looked at him and said, "You need to leave." He did not say another word. He just turned and walked out. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed and finally let myself feel all of it, not sadness, but a chilling disbelief. These were my people. This was their response to me defending my own child. I could have burned the whole thing down right then, exposed everything, but I did not want a war, not yet. Instead, I made one final, foolish effort. Sheila wrote a simple, handwritten letter. I mailed one copy to my parents' house, and another to Sophie. I said I wanted peace, that I was not interested in dragging things out, but that I would not be guilted, blamed, or manipulated anymore. I wrote that if they wanted to move forward, it had to be on a foundation of mutual respect and honesty. There was no response. A week passed. Then I saw it. Another post, this time from my mother's account. A picture of her, Sophie, and Sophie's kids, all of them smiling and hugging. The caption read, "Family is everything, even if some forget what that means." That was the final straw. I was done being the quiet one. I was ready to fight back. I did not feel anger when I saw that photo. I felt something colder, something emptier. It was like watching strangers wearing the faces of people I used to know, performing a pantomime of a family that had never truly existed. That caption was the last push I needed. I was not going to respond with emotion, no public rants, no drama. I was going to let the truth do the work for me. So I started gathering evidence. I emailed my landlord and requested all documentation related to the rent payments I had made towards Sophie's apartment. He sent it within the hour, a line-by-line accounting, month by month. 7 months of partial rent payments. The total came to $5,700. I printed it out, highlighted the payments, and mailed it to Sophie in a flat manila envelope. No note, no message, just the facts. 12 minutes later, she texted me a screenshot of her Venmo balance. It showed $34. Underneath it were 4 words. "Take me to court then." I did not answer. Instead, I found an old box in the garage, a time capsule from my childhood. Inside were dusty photo albums, and at the very bottom, an envelope that did not belong. It was addressed to my dad, from my mom. The date was from nearly 22 years ago, just a week after I was born. It was handwritten, a letter I was never meant to see. In it, she wrote about how tired she was, how overwhelmed. But then it got darker. She wrote that she had not wanted another child, that she had been content with just one. She called me a surprise she was not ready for. And then came the line that stopped my heart. "I do not think I will ever bond with this new baby. I feel like I am faking it. I am too tired to try." She was talking about me, and I sat there on the dusty garage floor for an hour, just staring at the faded ink. Every moment of my life, every time I had to fight for her affection, every time I had to earn her love, every second I spent in the shadow of my sister's chaos, it all clicked into place. It was not in my head. It had been there from the very beginning. That night, after Leo was asleep, I opened my laptop. I wrote one email. It was not emotional. It was a ledger of facts. I listed the money I had paid for her, the manipulative messages I had received, the lies Sophie had told, and then I attached a single image, a high-resolution scan of the last page of that letter, just one paragraph. "I do not think I will ever bond with this new baby. I feel like I am faking it. I am too tired to try." I hit send. No subject line, no signature, just the truth. Then I blocked all of them, every phone number, every email address, every social media account. I did it not for revenge, but for peace. But peace was never their goal. And in less than 48 hours, they found a new way to come for me, a way I never saw coming. The knock on the door did not even register as a threat. It was 2:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. I was folding Leo's laundry. I assumed it was a package delivery. I was not expecting 2 women in plain clothes flashing badges, Child Protective Services. They asked for me by name. Someone had submitted an anonymous report, claiming I was leaving Leo home alone for long stretches, that he seemed withdrawn and possibly neglected. I cannot even describe the feeling. It was like ice sliding down my spine while my heart tried to punch its way out of my chest. But I did not panic. I let them in. They were professional. They looked around. They checked the fridge, which was full. They saw Leo's room, clean and stocked with books and games. The report did not match reality, and they knew it. The case was closed, almost immediately. But a report like that does not just disappear. It stays in the system. Leo's school now had a file. The principal, though sympathetic, had to add an official note. "Just a heads up," she told me over the phone. "Even unfounded reports can trigger automatic escalations if there is a second call." That is when I knew. This was not family drama anymore. This was war. I called Uncle Ben and told him everything. He did not get angry. His voice was grim. That was their warning shot, Clara. They are trying to burn you down. You need to move, and you need to move now. So I did. I pulled out every receipt, every rent statement, every screenshot, even found a handwritten card from Leo's second birthday. From Sophie, it said, "Thanks for always being the stable one. I would fall apart without you." Literally, that went into the folder. My lawyer was quick. We sent a cease and desist letter to Sophie, to my mom, and to my dad. It detailed the harassment, the online smears, the demonstrably false CPS claim, and the unpaid debt. It made it brutally clear, another move like that, and we were pressing charges for harassment. Then, the unexpected happened. Mark messaged me. He sent one thing, a screenshot of a bank transfer. $2,850. Exactly half of the rent money I had paid. A few minutes later, another message came through. I told her to stop. I have moved out. Do whatever you have to do. He had jumped from the sinking ship. The stories started trickling in. A cousin reached out saying Sophie had borrowed $600 from her 6 months ago, and then blocked her. Another aunt told me she once drove 2 hours to pick Sophie up after a fight with Mark, and never even got a thank you. It turned out I was not the only one they had been draining. I was just the last one to finally turn off the tap. But it was not over. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived from their attorney. It contained one sentence that made my stomach turn. "We are pursuing grandparent visitation rights for Leo." They were going to make it legal. They were coming for my son. The envelope was not thick, but it felt heavier than anything else. Inside was a single page, a formal letter from my parents' attorney. They were filing for grandparent visitation rights, claiming I was denying them access to their grandson out of spite. They claimed I was damaging his emotional development, and had abruptly and without cause severed all ties. That is when I stopped feeling hurt, and started feeling dangerous. I called my lawyer. She read it, and said flatly, "They do not have a case. Arizona state law is clear. They have no grounds." But then she added, "This is not a legal strategy, Hera. This is a tactic of intimidation. They are using the courts to scare you, to wear you down, to bankrupt you emotionally and financially." This was never about seeing Leo. His was about control. About reminding me that no matter how far I ran, they could still find a way to hurt me. That weekend, I put everything in order. Edith Doris. My lawyer filed a formal response. We did not just reject their claim. We attached every piece of evidence. The screenshots, the receipts, the closed CPS report, the letter from my mother, all of it. I submitted a list of restricted individuals to Leo's school. My parents and Sophie were now banned from campus. I had the locks on my house changed. I updated my living will, making Uncle Ben and Aunt Carol the sole legal guardians of Leo. If anything ever happened to me, I had built a fortress of truth around my son, and they were not getting in. Not now. Not ever. If you have been following this far, and you want to see more stories about finding your strength, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You will not want to miss what comes next.